Let's get the big question out of the way. Humanitz or Project Zomboid? Humanitz, Project Zomboid. 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 Some people who have picked up Humanitz expect it to be an advanced version of Project Zomboid, and that has led to some rather wacky Steam player reviews. In fact, some of those Steam reviewers probably look a little bit like this. But Zomboid has been around for 10 years and it's undoubtedly the pinnacle of isometric hardcore zombie survival. Nobody doubts that. It is the elderly star quarterback who is now looking over at the bench, seeing the young up-and-comers standing there cracking their knuckles, practicing their throws, and the quarterback knows his time is ending. The old must eventually give way to the new. It is the way of things. Whereas Humanitz has only been around for less than 6 months and it is in early access. Let's say it's still in its training, still working on its basics. But let's look at this game not in comparison to other games, but for what it is. And the first thing that I noticed was that the camera doesn't have wall fade, which means you have to move it around a lot to see what's on the other side of the wall. Yes, the need to rotate the camera often did cause occasional orientation issues, but it was okay. Beyond that, I really enjoyed the game, and wait for it, prepare yourself Project Zomboid cultists, I enjoyed Humanitz more. When you play Zomboid, you need to be this type of person. I call them special cases, so to speak, and I guess I'm just not one of those. I respect Zomboid and have plenty of hours in it, but it's just too hardcore for me. Humanitz for me was a more enjoyable experience. It is more softcore. It tempts and teases you, giving glimpses of that lovely smooth skin beneath. Yes, on standard settings you can respawn and go pick up your stuff that you drop on death. But to cover things off, let's look quickly at the following: the graphics, the UI, crafting, building, the zombies, the bandits, combat, and finally the game flow in my final opinion. These are driven by the Unreal Engine and it looks good, sharp and clean, and for me very smooth. The different seasons are nicely represented. Rain and storms look great. They are what isometric graphics should be nowadays, and that gets good marks. The general UI is pretty good. It certainly is on the more simple side, but it works well, and the inbuilt survival guide is surprisingly good as an added bonus. There are two ways to craft, directly in your inventory or in the workstations. Again, it is simple. If you have the required materials, you click on it and away you go. The inventory crafting is where you craft the basics like a torch, a baseball bat with nails in it, rags for healing, and you're going to use that menu a lot. The workstations allow for better cooking, refining fat to oil, or general crafting station stuff where you can make all sorts of standard items with some more advanced products. Again, it works really well. The building in Humanitz requires you to have a hammer in your hand, and then you can put down a blueprint. Then once that is done, you can put the required materials into it. The challenge here is mostly just the gathering of the materials like logs or sheet metal. This can take time, but then again it probably should. I found the placement of some of the walls in like a little fiddly, but mostly I got it to work quite well. You have the option of building a standalone fully functioning base or fortifying a pre-existing house and barricading windows and the like. I quite liked that. There is a good assortment of zombies: normal shamblers, sprinters, fatties, muscly fat dudes, hazmat Zeds who sometimes have their oxygen tanks explode, irradiated I should probably say Zeds, from normal ones to big fatty tanky like ones. The zombies can smash out of houses through doors and windows and also smash their way into your house through both of those manners. You will also get wandering hordes that seem to focus in on your current location. These hordes come in from 360 degrees, and if they come at the wrong time they can cause some problems. The AI, their ability to see and hear you, honestly seems good. Crouching works well, but not in line of sight of the zombies. You can hide behind things, but only if quiet. The only thing I'd like to see here is them vaulting over walls. I remember when they added that into DayZ and how it changed the game dramatically and it made getting away so much harder. The zombies are good, but I'd like to see them pressure you a bit more. Of course you can up the spawn rate and difficulty in the game settings if you want to. In single player, there seem to be two types of NPCs, the wandering, gormless survivor and the roving bandits. The bandits look good, they pose a pretty serious challenge, and when defeated they have some good loot. The AI needs a bit more work, as they seem to be unable to think of a way into my wall base and settled into patrolling around it, but they work quite well, and if you're not keeping an eye out, they can surprise you and they can certainly kill you. They did that enough times to me. Combat is melee or ranged, of course. I found the bow to be incredibly accurate. If you had time, you were pinging off Zeds' heads like zits. The gunplay was surprisingly fun. Body shots to a Z with a 9mm will not stop them very well, but one to the head will. And to achieve this, you need to slow down your shooting. Assault rifles were the same. You can spray and pray or slow down the shooting. Shotties had good spread and penetration. The melee was really good. You could generally swing with your bat, put in a hit, back off, then move in for another hit. This becomes difficult as the hordes get bigger, as you will not be able to drop enough of them quickly before your stamina gets lower. I felt the combat was very good, in fact. Now you can of course play single player, multiplayer or scenario, and the latter, depending on how you phrase that, being where you find yourself on an island with resources scattered around and waves of Zeds attack you and you just basically see how long you last. I didn't play multiplayer. For this type of game, that doesn't really grab me, playing with a bunch of other idiots. I just like to see what the computer game and the NPCs are like. On normal settings, the game felt about right for a beginner. It provided me time and space to learn the ropes, but became a bit of a challenge when getting into the bigger towns. On harder settings, like with increased spawn rates and the like, the game certainly amps up in difficulty and forces you to spend a lot more time sneaking around as opposed to jogging, because you can't afford to draw the attention of the Zeds. There are plenty of vehicles to repair and they are all a little bit different, so with time you could have a nice little garage set up and you could even set up a small farm if you wished, though honestly didn't see much point at this stage of the game, as the found food does a good job overall. The gameplay doesn't feel grindy. Even the gathering of logs was okay, the crafting mechanic is pretty simple and most of the loot you find does have a good use. If you're going to play for a bit, you will certainly need plenty of storage and you will need to keep it organised, because that was a bit of an issue. Your gear and the way it is and the statistics of it could perhaps do with another layer to it all. It's all quite simple, with quality and warmth being the key statistics. I think Survivor games now need more details in the gear you find, giving various bonuses and the like, so you can craft up a character with the gear that you like. The hot and cold system is a little clunky, with you being freezing one moment and then fine the next, or not warming up when beside the fire, but I'm sure they'll get that fixed in the near future. I don't really worry that much about stories and why you are in this apocalypse in the first place. I tend to just focus on if the game feels good. Does it have immersion? And Humanitz feels good and has good immersion. I guess it is still relatively young. If they can spruce up a number of the things you can craft, maybe tweak the bandit AI a bit, throw in some more fearsome Zeds and particularly some fast ones that can surprise you, that would be nice. And as I said at the start, I really enjoyed Humanitz, and after 40 hours of gaming, I'm still jumping back into it. And even when I do stop playing it for a bit, I'll keep an eye out on it and come back to it for more. After all, that is what early access is about, and Humanitz has done a pretty good job of that. Thanks for watching. See you in the next chapter, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you got this far, you legends.